What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, hosted the Behind the Bench Podcast Network and channel, giving a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shy, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right. That's right. That's right. Everyone who's tuning in, thank you for supporting Behind the Bench. Subscribe to the channel. Help make this show the best that it can be. And I'm just sitting here, man, watching the NBA draft. Second round coverage. I'm just sitting here chilling, man. And you know what's funny? All of a sudden, these talking heads, or emphasizing how important it is to preserve your draft picks and use them wisely and draft talent and develop it. And I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, they weren't saying that back in 2018, man. They weren't saying that back in 2018 for teams like the Lakers and the Clippers. They like, do whatever it is you have to do. If you have to throw the kitchen sink at them to get the player you want, so be it. You ain't hearing that no more, man. And my mindset was always about, upholding young talent, because every professional sports franchise, even when you win a championship, you still drafting players to the team. The NFL draft, right, has millions of people who tune in and watch that event, right? It's like an event now. You know what I'm saying? You don't draft veterans into the league. You draft young men into the league. So common sense is, if you're going to draft young players, try to build around them. And at a certain point, if you don't see any significant improvement, then you do what you have to do. But anyway, I want to talk about Tracy McGrady, man. I want to talk about T-Mac. This is a player, man, who entered the NBA in 1997, man. And, this before, we start calling him T-Mac. You know what I'm saying? And you could tell, man, he had a lot of natural ability, a lot of natural talent. The potential was there. You know what I'm saying? And I was a fan of Tracy McGrady, man. He came along during that era with, Vince Carter, who's his first cousin, by the way. And of course, other great stars, Paul Pierce, Stevie Franchise, Tim Duncan, I can even say Marcus Camby, Ray Allen, Jesus Shuttlesworth. You know what I'm saying? That 1996 draft, AI, around that same period, man. And then you have Kobe Bean Bryant, dog. And I also want to mention Dirk Nowitzki, stars of that caliber. And then you have Kobe Bean Bryant. And, supposedly, he and T-Mac were real tight, coming through the years. They did various interviews after, particularly after Kobe Bryant retired. And, he talked about, they battles they had between each other or whatnot. And it was great theater, man. It's just like Magic and Bird. They went down in history together, and we know about the championship battles they had between each other. And they did various documentaries about their rivalry. I believe Magic wrote a book, about him and Larry Bird. And this is what makes the NBA great, man. But what T-Mac did starting last week, well, first of all, they responded to the manipulation that was casted by the Hurricane on his own podcast. And I'm telling you, if the league don't move forward, man, it's going to reach a point of no return. Even though, man, we just seen a great finish to a season with a young team who was at the bottom of the NBA landscape just 5 years ago, and now they the world champions. And we see a lot of this in football, where in NFL, where a team is at the bottom, they start all over again, they start building up, and they have a 5-year plan, and then they hope to reach Super Bowl status. And we've seen a lot of teams do that over the past 20 years, whatnot. And Tracy McGrady, man, and like I said, man, I don't even like to bring this up. And when cats bring this up, we do it in fun nature, because even Tracy McGrady alluded to it as uh, uh, a part of his career that he wished that he could have corrected or at least overcame. And the thing about it is, a lot of these guys that have there's given opportunity to stage a platform for themselves. They're using their platform for nefarious means, and it's not really providing any positive contribution to the game. Now, when I mean positive, I'm not just saying everything has to be perfect or to where there's no criticisms. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, when you deliberately trying to sway, particularly the youth generation. See, this ain't about fans like myself or others who came up watching the NBA during the years that Tracy McGrady played. It's not. No, that's not. He's not saying that trying to convince us. He's saying that trying to appeal to the youth generation, or to the lowest common denominator, meaning people who also have an interest to downgrade past NBA greatness. And what's happening is, man, you see this effort to bring down the Michael Jordans, to bring down the Kobe Bryants, players who really won. And I think what's being lost out of all of this is how difficult it is to win. Like, Tracy McGrady made a comment, man, and he based his whole argument on this premise of, well, if I had Shaquille O'Neal, I could have won. You don't think I could have won a champion, led the Lakers to the championship? Well, what he's losing sight of is that Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal didn't come out the box and start winning. They had to go through playoff struggle. They had to go through the fire. They had to go through the pain. As Doug Collins, former coach of the Chicago Bulls, who coached Michael Jordan, when he was analyst for NBA on NBC, he said, in order to become a champion, you have to get your heart broke. So what I'm trying to say is, man, Kobe and Shaq, it wasn't given to them. That's the first thing. It wasn't given. I sit there and watched it. I've been watching the Lakers forever, right? So I know that we lost to Utah in the conference semifinals in 1997. I know we lost to Utah. We got swept by Utah in the 98 conference finals, Western Conference Finals. And then we lost to the San Antonio Spurs in the conference finals of 99. We seen it. So you can't present that to a fan who actually witnessed this in real time. So it's hard. It's easy in retrospect. This is like 20 years after the result, after the fact, where now you've been given a platform because of an agenda hatched by a guy that's perpetrating madness on his podcast and downgrading the significance of winning. But if you think about it, sports is about, when you a kid, just think about when you a kid, and if you a kid who gravitate to sports, whether you a young man or a young woman or a young lady, what do you say to yourself? You imagine that you hit the game-winning shot for the NBA championship or for the NCAA Final Four, or you hit the game-winning home run and win the World Series, or you throw the game-winning touchdown, or catch the game-winning touchdown for the Super Bowl, or you hit the game-winning goal to win the Stanley Cup in hockey. You see what I'm saying? Or on an individual level, you don't dream about winning the bronze medal. You dream about, if you pursue track and field, you think about and dream about winning the gold medal. Because that signifies that you're the best in your field at that particular moment. That's why you're crowned champion. That's why you are given an award, gold medal, Larry O'Brien trophy, World Series crown, the Vince Lombardi trophy, the Stanley Cup, or in tennis, Wimbledon, French Open, U.S. Open, Australia Open. We can go down the line. Or if you're a boxer, you're crowned champion your weight class. You're giving a championship belt. So when you come out that bag and say, well, it's too much emphasis on winning in the NBA, well, what you're really saying is subconsciously is that either you're not really playing to win, or throughout your career, you haven't been good enough to win. But see, let me put it this way. Especially when you're trying to convince people that you are something that you're not. Patrick Ewing was known as the Warrior, right? He was known as the Warrior. He lost continuously, and he was a great player. Patrick Ewing, he was the starting center for the original Dream Team in 1992. Patrick Ewing came out of Georgetown in 1985. Hoya Paranoia, head coach the late John Thompson. Patrick Ewing came in the league, man, the most intimidating figure in basketball. He never beat Michael Jordan in the playoffs, and they had some battles, boy. Woo, they had some battles. How would Patrick Ewing come out? How would Patrick Ewing look if he came out there and said, man, man, if I had this and that, man, I could have beat the Bulls? No, because in the heat of the battle, it's the heat of the battle. And it came down to who was going to play better between the superstars, Patrick Ewing and Michael Jordan. So what I'm saying is, man, it's so easy to be hypothetical. But sports is about performance in the heat of battle to prove who's the best. So what happens is when you say, well, if I had Shaq, I could have won championships too. Well, you're downgrading or not letting the people know that you once had an all NBA caliber center in Yao Ming. People forget Yao Ming, man. If it wasn't for Yao Ming was the best offensive skill center in the NBA when he was healthy. He was one of the first centers who was proficient at the free throw line. That man, I think one year he was shooting like 90% from the free throw line. And he had like an automatic like elbow jumper. That man was a beast. But it's just, I guess he was so tall and so big in terms of a weight. Yao Ming had to be like 7'5", somewhere around there. 7'4", 7'5". But I think his frame couldn't hold that weight, man. And he had all them foot injuries. But what Tracy McGrady don't mention, man, he lost in the first round twice with Yao Ming playing all NBA level basketball. Especially in 2005 and 2000, especially 2007. Lost to the Utah Jazz at home in a game 7. Where Yao Ming dropped 29. And he lost. Now he's supposed to be the superstar. Well, there's no way in the world you can lose in the first round against an upstart Utah Jazz team. With a young D. Will, Darren Williams. Yeah, now don't get me wrong, Utah had a talented young team, but Houston was favored to win that series, and they was the home team. And lost. So you can't sit there and say what you could do with Shaq when you lost with Yao Ming. And you hate to respond to it like this, man. But it's like, man, who's putting you up to say this nonsense, man? And the thing about it, then the hurricane puts the narrative out there that, oh man, people out there, feel that if a player don't win a championship, they don't feel they're a great player. No, we never said T-Mac wasn't a great player in the sense that, he won 2 scoring titles in his career. And he was a talent, man. In his prime, he was balling. But the playoffs, as Kenny Smith said, the playoffs show who you are and who you're not. And if you've been in the league that long and you have never advanced past the first round and you're the superstar, well, the onus ultimately is placed on the superstar. But in this era where everything is devalued, the onus is placed on everybody else. See, when the super team era started in the summer 2010, the superstar mentality was compromised. The whole thing. That's why basketball fans who long for competition once again. That's why we felt so invigorated and just passionate about what we saw in these playoffs with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers and the Minnesota Timberwolves, because these young stars are competing. They are bringing back the art of competition. That's why they should be recognized for such, man. And that's why the league needs to move forward. They doing everything right. They doing everything right. And they're not getting the credit of just do. Now watch what happened. They're going to talk about Oklahoma City for a couple of days, and it's going to be right back to the same old redundancy. It's going to be right back to the same old nonsense. And until these talking heads move out the way, until like former players stop using their platforms, man, for self-serving interests and just cover the game. Like T-Mac, I've seen T-Mac be a guest on various NBA programs. T-Mac know the game. That's the thing. Nobody said T-Mac didn't know the game, but you're not Kobe, dog. You're not Kobe. Like I said, Kobe Bryant took a team to the playoffs in 06 and 07 with 3 guys on the team who was not NBA caliber. On the starting five, the only player who he had that was considered a legitimate NBA starter level player was Lamar Odom. Everybody else, man, they was more than likely G League. Well, at the time, D League. They was developmental players. And Kobe was leading to the playoffs in the first round in the Western Conference. Now, when Kobe was losing the first round in 06 and 07, well, they weren't favored to win. And they was in a rebuilding phase. But as soon as he got a complimentary, the number 2 player in Pau Gasol, who was averaging like 18.5 points a game, 18.8 points a game, well, Yao Ming was giving you 25. Kobe Bryant won 2 championships with Pau Gasol as his number 2 guy. He won 2 titles with no other top 75 players on the team. So you can't tell me that you can win championships with Shaq the way Kobe did, and Kobe won 2 with no other top 75 players on the team. And in the back-to-back championship in 2010, our bench was not as productive as in 09, and he essentially led us to back-to-back championships with the team of Phil Jackson utilizing the 7-man rotation. And he did it with a broken finger and a busted knee. Come on, man. And we know for a fact Kobe Bryant played with a level of pain and injury that we've never seen before, dog. And like I said, man, T-Mac was a hell of a player in terms of throughout the course of the season, regular season, 82 game. Man, you tune in and watch him like, man, T-Mac is balling. But the playoffs, that's the separator. And like I said, man, Kobe Bryant, Game 7 versus the 2000 Western Conference Final versus the Portland Trail Blazers. Portland had more talent across the board. Lakers, they took a 3-1 lead in that series. And in the next 2 games, Portland's talent took over and tied the series. And in Game 7, they went up by 15 points going to that 4th quarter. It wasn't Shaq who delivered that victory. It was Kobe. In his 4th year, 22 years old, as the primary facilitator and primary defender. Are you kidding me? Kobe Bryant, 25 points, 11 assists, dog. 11 assists, and play lockdown defense in that 4th quarter. If Kobe wasn't on that team, they wouldn't advance to the finals. It's as simple as I think Shaq had like 18 points, 9 rebounds. Kobe got him to the finals, dog. So what I'm trying to say is, you had an all NBA level center twice in the postseason, and you didn't get out the first round. That's on the superstar. That's the way this goes, dog. So what I'm trying to say is, when the when the so-called face of the league creates an environment that devalues winning and takes the onus off what the superstars expected to do, then players who didn't win is going to gravitate to that type of narrative. They're going to gravitate to that. But the players who really won, They're going to be like, man, look here, I don't want to hear that. You see what I'm saying? Like Larry Bird came in his rookie year, right? He came in his rookie year and led a team who had just won 28 games to 60 games, a 32 game improvement, which was an NBA record at that time. Larry Bird wasn't having none of that. So what I'm saying, Larry Bird had that superstar mentality. See, that's the separator. Kobe had the mentality and the word thought and the drive. Now, talent-wise, if they want to say T-Mac had more natural athletic ability, man, it's a whole bunch of guys been in the league, man. They could jump out the gym, dog. Whole bunch of them, dog. Not just in the NBA, man. I'm quite sure people who, watch basketball, man, we done seen guys, man, who can, man, they can sit there and grab the top of the backboard off of one leg, dog. But to play the game, that's the separator. Kobe had advanced skill coming into the league. That's why Jerry West was so keen on drafting him, because he saw what Kobe could become 4 years down the line. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is, man, in closing, dog, T-Mac was a great talent. Kobe Bryant was an all-time great player. It's a difference, man. Anytime that you win 3 championships with Shaq, right? Okay. And it was unfortunate, man, that Shaq and Kobe couldn't get along. I'll be the first person to acknowledge that. And it was sad to see them part ways. But at the end of the day, Kobe led a rebuilding effort from the ground up. And it led a different team, incarnation of the Lakers, to back-to-back championships, dog. I don't know of any other superstar in league history that did that. That's another separator. And we can all agree Shaquille O'Neal historically was more dominant than Pau. And it's not about, I love when we got Pau Gasol. I thought he was a perfect complement to Kobe. He wasn't a savior, but he was a perfect complement to what Kobe needed as a number 2 option and as a post scorer. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, T-Mac, man, what's unfortunate is, man, and see what happens is when you make a statement like that, then other cats gonna come out of the bag and start brown bagging on Kobe. But mind you, like I said, D-Wade made a statement early this year, throughout the course of the season, saying the reason why he joined forces with the Hurricane and Chris Bosh was to get the upper hand on Kobe. Woo! They didn't say Kobe and Powell. They said to get the upper hand on Kobe. Because Kobe had just clinched his 5th championship. So, like I said, man, I just think it's getting so bad to where guys are just saying anything to I guess, overcome the disappointment of the fact that they never won. You don't hear Dominique coming out that bad. You don't hear Dominique Wilkins say, man, if I would have had this or that guy, man, I could have got it done. No, Dominique, man, he took it. He went out on his shield, man. He said, look, man, I had a hell of a team and we did the best we could, and it is what it is. And he lived with the results. That's what you call being a superstar. And Dominique gets respect for that. See, he don't downgrade history. When you try to rewrite history, try to, change the course of history, then you really doing a disservice to the game, man. And like I said, at the end of the day, Kobe Bean was that guy, and T-Mac, he may get a little wave of support initially, man, but the history is always gonna stand. See, if you sit there and try to make a statement, and then you don't mention the fact that you played with an All NBA center of your own in Yao Ming, then you're not giving the full story. That's what I'm trying to say. And Yao Ming in 07 was the best center in the NBA. There wasn't a better center in the NBA. I would say them 3 years, tell you the truth. When Yao Ming was healthy, he was the best center in the NBA. Period. Bar none. Especially offensively. So I just want to get my 2 cents in on that, man. It's just so much going on every day someone's saying something that's whack. And they building up their platforms on talking about something that happened a generation ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. But they can't focus on now because they can't relate to it. And the reason being is because you got these young stars out here really competing. You see, Shea can come out that bad. Shea can say, hey, you know what? I led a team to the championship. I ain't take no shortcuts. Right? He has that in his resume. Same thing with Giannis. Same thing with Jokic. And I think there's a lot of a bitterness there about the fact that, you know, you got young players out here, man, that's over. I ain't gonna say overachieving, but they're actually exceeding expectations because they out there competing. I think a lot of it is that too. But at the end of the day, man, T-Mac was a hell of a player, man. He was a great talent, but he ain't Kobe Bryant, dog. It's as simple as that, man. And matter of fact, T-Mac, I put up a video, T-Mac earlier this year saying, man, if you don't have Kobe as a top 5 all-time greatest player, man, you fooling yourself. This was Tracy McGrady saying that. Now all of a sudden he come out there saying, I could do what Kobe did. See, it's a lot of disingenuous dialogue going on right now, man. And it's all permeating. It all stems from the influence of the hurricane. When he put that out there about ring culture, no, it ain't about ring culture. It's lose culture. It's lose culture. Kobe didn't have no losing mentality. Kobe was going to be Kobe with or without Shaq. He proved that by winning 2 championships without Shaquille O'Neal. And I love Shaq. Shaq, all-time great center, man. All-time great center. He's a Laker legend, and he deserved his statue. But Kobe proved who he was by winning 2 championships without him. So what I'm trying to say is his game was a contingent on relying on Shaq. So leave your comments and thoughts, man. There's just too much insanity going on. But I just want to drop that gold nugget. And until next time, this is JB for BTB. This is Behind